Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art and culture, and this is Billboard Breakdown. So this was a weird week on the Hot 100. All of a sudden the chart shifting momentum seemed to dry up, and yet we got a whole pile of new arrivals and returning entries spanning every genre, except well country. It was a lumpy, misshapen sort of week that would normally be kind of fascinating to talk about, except that would be ignoring the elephant in the room. More specifically, the element that's sitting in the top 10 at number 1 right now. That's right folks, Closer by the Chainsmokers featuring Halsey is now the longest running number 1 of 2016. More than work, more than one dance, and it's easily the worst of them. I have to ask, who are the people who continue to keep this song as the sales leader on the Hot 100? Or the people so captivated by that basic as hell music video that already has 22 million hits and leading on YouTube? At least it slipped on streaming and airplay gains are starting to dry up, but it's still got a convincing lead. As much as I don't want it coming anywhere close to One Sweet Day's record, and it probably won't, it would need to last at least 5 more weeks at the top to tie it, we now have to raise that possibility in contention. Thankfully, Starboy by The Weeknd is making one hell of a case, continuing to surge on airplay, strong sales, good YouTube, and taking the top spot in streaming. Not precisely close yet, but it's coming in at number 2. Now that's not exactly the case for Heathens by 21 Pilots at number 3, which might have still some good sales, some huge airplay, and better than expected week on YouTube, but man, it had a big streaming loss, and that is not a good sign. Probably a little better for Let Me Love You by DJ Snake featuring Justin Bieber at number 4 though. Airplay momentum might have slowed along with some of the streaming, but it still has enough here to compensate for its weaker sales. Broccoli by Dram and Lil Yachty might actually be in a better position at number 5. Sure, it's not really going anywhere on radio and sales are not great, but it does have some streaming momentum, so we'll see what happens. Almost the opposite case for 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars at number 6. Huge airplay momentum, good sales, but its streaming is lagging hard, and that's not a good sign if it wants to get any higher. Compare this to Side to Side by Ariana Grande featuring Nicki Minaj, which is respectably healthy across the board, especially on YouTube. It's no surprise that it's up to number 7, especially if it's beating Cold Water by Major Lazer, Justin Bieber, and Mia, which just had an awful week as it bled in every single category. It's only still in the top 10 because of leftover airplay, and that's fading fast. And then we have a song that doesn't belong anywhere near the top 10 from two guys that combined have 4 times less Twitter followers than somehow I do. Juju on That Beat, TZ Anthem by Zayn McCall and Zay Hilfiger. And I like to say that the death of Vine means we'll see less of songs like these, but that's not really the case. People are still buying this song enough to put it at number 9. And on the topic of songs that belong nowhere near the top 10, I Hate You, I Love You by Nash and Olivia O'Brien is back at number 10. Except that it actually has radio traction to go along with the sales. Again, who wants to listen to this boring, sloppily written junk? I don't get it. Ugh, whatever. Let's get to our list of losers and dropouts, and we had a lot of the latter category. The big ones should not be surprising at this point. They're near the end of their life cycle. For Free by DJ Khaled and Drake is finally out, along with Different for Girls by Dierks Bentley and Elle King, and That Part by Schoolboy Q and Kanye West. And Fifth Harmony had a particularly rough week, with Work From Home exiting along with All in My Head Flex, with Fetty Wap leaving a few weeks early. And then also on the list of early leavers, we got Gangsta by Kalani as its second wind evaporates, Rock On by Tucker Beat Hard, and unfortunately, I Met a Girl by William Michael Morgan. As for losses, we only had 2 this week. Their Skrull by Kungs and Cooking on 3 Burners continues to collapse down to 88, and All We Know by the Chainsmokers featuring Phoebe Ryan drops to 55 because such an obvious bland clone of Closer shouldn't be charting in the first place. And our gains and returning entries list is even smaller. First, the latter category, because the release of Lady Gaga's Joanne did lead to a fair number of comebacks, with Million Reasons hitting 57 and Perfect Illusion hitting 78. But we also got Say It by Flume featuring Tove Lo at 79, probably off of associated word of mouth surrounding Tove Lo's new album, and Love on the Brain by Rihanna, which has officially been chosen as the next single and not Desperado, so what is even the hell at this point? But we only had 1 real gain this week, and that was for How I'll Always Be by Tim McGraw off its debut last week. No complaints. Good song, picking up to 89, that's decent progress, I guess I'll take it. But as I said, the real activity this week came from our new arrivals, and we got a whole bunch of them, starting off with number 100, Say You Won't Let Go by James Arthur.
I know I needed you, but I never showed. But I wanna stay with you
here's the thing. I was initially planning on using this song as a world hit a couple of weeks back, but ultimately chose to avoid it. More because James Arthur is the sort of performer where the controversy was a lot more interesting than his actual music. He blew up in the UK thanks to winning X Factor, and after a debut album managed to crater his momentum thanks to a slew of homophobic and borderline racist lyrics and a few diss tracks that were bad enough that Simon Cowell kicked him off Psycho Records. Seriously! But after a few years out of the spotlight, he signed to Columbia and released this as a lead-off single for his sophomore album, which promptly went to #1 in the UK. And look, there's barely anything to this. It's a straightforward acoustic love song with piano accents where after a night of partying and holding her hair as she pukes, he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. And outside the fact that he's obviously trying to run in Ed Sheeran's lane and that James Arthur's slightly slurred and sloppy delivery isn't nearly as endearing as it's supposed to be, this is fine enough, I guess. But again, going back to this, there was a reason why it wasn't a world hit a couple of weeks back, and I can't say I'll be remembering this in a week or even in a day. Just saying. Number 99, What They Want by Russ.
Dollar signs, yeah, I know it's what they want. What they want, what they want, what they want. Y'all ain't fooling me at all. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I've been at this shit for 9 years. Now they start to call. I'm a DIY pioneer. They trying to get involved.
I'm surprised this is here. On the one hand, I shouldn't be. Welcome to the semi-regular hit where mediocre trap songs creep onto the charts only to be gone a week later, and Russ is even from Atlanta. But the content does differentiate it a little bit. For one, Russ's more melodic flow and rough-edged intensity does show a split from similar sounds out of Young Thug, but after the first verse of bragging, Russ spends the next two snapping back at major labels trying to take advantage of his money and success. And sure, I was digging this for its intensity and reasonably well-constructed bars, until you realize the only reason this song is charting on the Hot 100 is because he actually did sign to Columbia, a major label. Even if he wrote and produced and mixed this all himself, the song loses a lot of weight when you discover that unfortunate fact. And even with that, I'm not wild about the production here either. The warbling synth loop, the blocky beat, the sparse hi-hat, it's pretty basic all things considered. You're expecting more layers that don't really show up, so there's very little to keep me all that interested. So yeah, between the hypocrisy and the pretty basic production, can't really get behind this. Sorry. Number 95, Greenlight by Pitbull featuring Flo Rida and LunchMoney Lewis.
What you waiting for? You only got one life. And we gon' live it up. So give me the green light. Cause I'm ready to go.
You know, I made a negative comparison to Pitbull in that Kenny Chesney review yesterday, and I kind of feel bad for that. Look, Pitbull is far from a great rapper, but there is a part of me that doesn't mind this guy at all. At least he has flow and charisma, and he clearly wants to make party jams that have energy and fire. He wants us all to have a good time. So in a team up with his late 2000s contemporary Flo Rida for a hit, that makes all kinds of sense. And they even brought along LunchMoney Lewis for the hook, which I was set to like this song. And overall, yeah, I like this. Even if the central premise is half pulled from John Legend and Andre 3000's underrated 2009 hit of the same name, matched with a game of red light, green light. Now, I'm not exactly saying the content is stellar here. Pitbull, I'm not sure it's a good thing to reference the late Left Eye and OJ the Juice Man in your sex anthem, although I do kind of appreciate the string of Miami references. But Flo Rida definitely holds his own with a more melodic verse, even if I think his bars can feel a tad disconnected. If I were to criticize the song, I'd say that the sparse, muted textures on the hook don't really flatter LunchMoney Lewis, and the minor progression chosen for the vocal line doesn't quite bring the bright energy to match the funk of the bass line or the squealing horns. But outside of that, the song's got a lot of real groove and punch, and I can definitely see this gaining some traction. It's a pretty fun song. Can't believe I'm actually saying this, but Flo Rida, Pitbull, I actually don't mind having you guys back on the charts, especially you're putting out fun songs like this. It's a good track. Check it out. Number 85, No Heart by 21 Savage and Metro Boomin.
Why you pulling out these rappers' cards? Cutty nigga pussy and I'm hard. I turn it fucking soft into some hard. I grew up in the streets without no heart. I'm praying to my Glock and my card.
Okay, if you want an easy reason why I'd give a pass to Pitbull and Flow Rida, because for a large part the alternative is this track. This is the first of two 21 Savage songs that debuted on the Hot 100 this week, and by the nine hells, who the heck finds this interesting? 21 Savage is an MC with slightly less charisma than a bowl of soggy oatmeal, and listening to him rattle through trap cliches against a dead-eyed beat complete with squealing effects cribbed from Future's commas, there's nothing to like about this. And here's the thing that irks me. For as much as 21 Savage says that he's a hard street gangster that grew up at the very bottom and wants real beef outside of Twitter, that he's gonna kill some rappers, why then is he confronting somebody over beef on Instagram? I thought you were above this, man. And if you're such a hard-edged killer, why then are you wasting your second verses bragging about brand names? Ugh, this is just unpleasant on all counts. And why there is a kind of sinister edge to this guy that does make him slightly preferable to someone like Lil Uzi Vert, at the end of the day, I'm just not interested in this. It's mediocre, I've heard it before, skip it. Number 69, Shout Out to My Ex by Little Mix. So now we come to the other act who's gone to number 1 in the UK, and up until now, the biggest charting success for Little Mix in the mainstream Hot 100. Now, I've actually been looking forward to their upcoming 4th album. They're still on Psycho, so not a lot of high hopes for the production that'll get a lot better, but maybe they will give Fifth Harmony some stiff competition? Well, stiff was definitely a word I would use to describe the first verse of that song, with that clunky, grinding tone paired with a popping beat, but by the time the acoustic guitar slammed into the hook, the song started growing on me significantly, almost having the feel of a folk pop song, and that's a good fit for these girls. And man, isn't it nice to hear a girl group who are all consistently strong singers and aren't having to compensate for the significant weaknesses of one member, or who can actually harmonize on the hook, who are actually able to open up for some really great belting? Of course, most of the credit here I'm giving to Perry, especially when it comes to a lot of the writing and performances. As a giant middle finger to Zayn, I have to admit I enjoyed the hell, not just out of the assertion that she was faking it the entire time, but also that the girl he's with now, she's hoping that she gets it better. Hey, why deprive her? So yeah, as a kiss-off song in the teen pop mold, Little Mix proved that they're head and shoulders above the competition yet again, and have me looking forward to their new album. Even if it's got a guest appearance from Charlie Puth, it can't be that bad. We'll burn the bridge when we get to that. Number 66, Ayo by Lady Gaga. Oh boy, the song I liked least from Lady Gaga's Joanne is for some reason it's her next single. Seriously, Diamond Heart had potential, why not release that instead? Now to be fair, just because I liked it least doesn't mean that Ayo is bad. I don't really like that thin, snaky tone that creeps through the entire song instead of that noisier guitar, which feels even peripheral compared to the compressed horn line and bass that dominates, but there is some melody to this, even if, yet again, it doesn't feel nearly as organic and rough as it thinks it is. And sure, Lady Gaga's vocals do plenty to compensate, especially on the final hook, but then we have the actual content, which is trying for this trashy, hate sex vibe full of cigarette smoke and spit, and it kind of misses the mark when it comes to any sort of actual titillation. It's a fine line, but she's kind of not getting there. Of course, the subtext is Lady Gaga directing the song at the music industry that I'm sure she would love to hate fuck. Give her the pressure of music before tossing them all aside. But again, as I said when I reviewed Joanne, there's kind of a method to making this sort of song not feel like a really staged burlesque show and actually have a little bit more edge to it. And of the songs on that album to make it work, Ayo connects the least. It's still decent though, I'll give it that. Number 38, Sneakin by Drake featuring 21 Savage.
Make me call my bros for assistance. You gon' make me call my bros for assistance. Niggas keep reaching and dissing. Put me in a fucked up position. You gon' make me call my bros for assistance. Make me call my bro.
You know, I think it's starting to become mimetic of the series that I've long been sick of Drake, but the truth is that months after his biggest successes from views have faded, that annoyance has mostly faded on my side. Of course, all that could come back if he chose to throw his star power behind rappers who otherwise don't deserve it, which takes us to Sneakin. Man, remember when Drake actually used to sound like he cared about his music? Because instead of injecting some life and fire into this track, he drops to 21 Savage's level for a relentlessly monotone song. And I mean monotone beyond just the tone of their voices. Drake sounds so world-weary that the most he brags about is beating other people's finances, faking Spanish to be with his girl, and being so relentlessly under fire that he has to call up his team. Okay, if you're the GOAT, you shouldn't need to do that. And if your team is 21 Savage, you're in trouble, because his generic bragging has zero impact for me, and the production does not help. It's trying to convey menace with a desaturated siren, the blocky beat, the glassy synth effects, and the trap snare, but this is not new or interesting for Drake, so again, it becomes very easy to just tune out. It's not precisely bad, but it is definitely mediocre. Next. Number 32, Hallelujah by Pentatonix.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
So do you think it's just coincidental that Pentatonix decided to cover Leonard Cohen's biggest song right after he released a new album? Granted, this is from Pentatonix's Christmas album and features hand claps and what sounds like some sort of echoing beat in the background, which is definitely pushing the definition of a cappella to the very limit, but it sure awfully screams as coincidental, don't you think? In any case, while I do kind of like the vocal arrangement here on a conceptual level, looks like the rest of the group is finally getting more to do, with everyone but Kevin getting a verse. And yeah, as a song, it's definitely held the test of time. The lyrics are good here. It's a good Leonard Cohen song, but let's be honest, Leonard Cohen's song has cast a very long shadow, and there's a part of me that wishes that Pentatonix could have underplayed this track a little bit more to fit in that mold, instead of then twice cranking up the bombast here, especially on the outro. Hell, even Rufus Wainwright's sanitized version got that right. Look, the song's still a classic. You can tell that Pentatonix are trying, but I can't really get behind this arrangement, especially when it feels like the overall mood was missed. It's a decent cover, but again, it's not even touching the original, and I've heard better. And finally, number 24, Fake Love by Drake.
Straight up to my face. I've been down so long, it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me. Straight up to my face. Straight up to my face.
And now we got the big new hit single from Drake, the lead for the big compilation album slash playlist slash whatever the hell he's releasing in December, and are you serious? Is Drake still, for some ungodly reason, doing this popping tropical sound with the most gutless, glassy synths possible, coupled with a trap beat that sounds painfully half-assed? And that's not the only thing that sounds half-assed. Drake is going off at people showing him fake love, and outside the line that I've been down so long it looked like Up to Me, which is originally pulled from an old blues song, has been reused in dozens of other tracks. It's really kind of underwritten and nondescript from a lyrical level. There's not a lot of punchlines that really jump out in the same way that even Hotline Bling had. But by far the worst element is Drake's vocals. I can't tell if this is Young Thug impression gone wrong with him reaching into his upper range, but the complete lack of any sort of refinement in the production means that on a pre-chorus it just sounds like a bad demo. It's not smooth, it's not textured, it's not even fascinatingly awkward like Hotline Bling was. It's just unpolished in a way that doesn't flatter him at all. At least on Sneakin, the vocal line had a little bit of refinement or control, but this is just ugly and sloppy and amateurish and not good. Skip it. So yeah, this week was kind of all over the place, but we do have a defined spectrum of winners and losers. The best, absolutely easy. Shout out to my ex from Little Mix takes the top spot in a heartbeat, with honorable mention going to Greenlight by Pitbull, Rida, and LunchMoney Lewis. At least those songs were fun and impassioned, whereas our worst? Yeah, I'm giving it to Fake Love by Drake taking the worst here, with No Heart by 21 Savage and Metro Boomin snagging dishonorable mention for just being ugly and unpleasant in a way that doesn't remotely even bother to be interesting. I don't really know how much of this will end up lasting on the charts, but considering we only have 2 weeks left of the Billboard year in 2016, anything could happen. But until next time, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you then.